All right, welcome to Gear Garage. My name is Zach. This is also Zach.
Absolutely.
This is a show about Zach's from the house. This is a show about Whitewater stuff. And today we're going to talk about the difference between a Sawyer MX-G and a Squaretop. Two really awesome oars that Sawyer makes, but I think that one is better than the other. That's what we're going to kind of get into. And we'll probably get into a lot of other topics as well, just oars in general. Basically, what's the best whitewater oar? And I'm going to make the case that the Sawyer MX-G with a dynamite blade, this bad boy here, is the best whitewater oar ever made. I'm going to quickly give my case here, tell you why.
Okay.
I mean, this is your company, so like I'm sure you may agree with or disagree. I think that it's super strong. They don't break very often. Incredibly stiff. I like stiffness as somebody who's rowing. Somebody who has strong shoulders, so I can handle a stiff oar.
Right.
I don't like losing energy in the blade in that. The Dynamite blade, especially if you get what I call the XD, it's the XD there, the wrap all the way around is just incredibly strong and light. And I love the fact that you can take that blade off from the oar. So if you break the oar, you still have a blade. And if you break the blade, you still have an oar. And so it's just, I think, the ultimate oar. It's graphite, right? That's the MX-G, it's for MX graphite.
Carbon fiber weave, yeah.
Carbon fiber weave, so it's super light. It's just an incredible oar. It's like a wood oar from back, I'm a wood oar guy. It's like a wood oar back in the day, except it's not wood, it's lighter, and it's more durable. So I'm gonna claim that these square tops everybody loves, they're really cool, they're beautiful. Yeah, they're beautiful, but they're not as good as the MX-G for whitewater.
Well,
what do you think, Zach?
I would have to disagree on a couple of things. And, just going on what you're saying, how you really like the MX-G and you like the transfer of energy and it's a strong, stiff oar, boom, you pull a stroke,
it's like wood.
It's right there.
It's like wood.
But no matter how you slice it, an MX-G has a junction in the blade and in the handle. So there's a little bit of give. There's a little bit of give, right? So on a square top, the essence of the square top is the fact that there's 3 laminations, but they run all the way from the handle all the way through the blade.
Okay.
So, people hear the saying, flex and feel of wood. It's a real thing, because with this oar, when you're rowing it, you are actually getting a complete transfer of energy in your oar stroke. You're not dissipating one way or another. Now, I'll definitely agree with you as far as, if you break a blade on a square top, that's a bummer.
Yeah, and I've had that. I mean, for me, you know how much I care about that diameter right here.
Right.
We have a few square tops. We've broken them here.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice, expensive oar that's gone.
Right. Well, we've sold a lot of square tops.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And I can tell you that the number of broken square tops is nowhere near the number of, say, a broken blade, just a blade.
Yeah.
So that these are extremely tough as well, and they don't break very often.
Do you think
the problem is that if you do break something,
it's gone?
It's gone.
But do you think that you're more likely to break? Which one of these two, between the MX-G and the square top, are you more likely to break?
I would say they're very, very comparable in strength. Reason being is that the MX-G is a carbon fiber reinforced weave.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that means.
That's what gives it its strength and its.
Is there any wood in here at all?
There's no wood in here at all.
All carbon.
Okay. So, but it's it's basically fiberglass and carbon fiber.
Okay.
So, but the carbon fiber triaxial weave is what gives it its real stiffness and its strength, right?
Wait, hold on, before I get there. Isn't the MX-FG, isn't that fiberglass and carbon?
The FG, which is an old model, the MXS is the one you have right there. That is fiberglass with a carbon stringer. So the little red shaft is fiberglass, but the little black Xing in there, that's a carbon fiber string.
So you guys don't make the FG anymore?
FG is no longer.
It's just the MX.
MXS or MX.
And the S just means smaller diameter.
Small diameter, large diameter.
Cool.
So there's MXS and MXL.
So everything now is graphite, basically. It's all what we just said. Fiberglass with graphite over the top or whatever.
Fiberglass with either triaxial weave of just fiberglass with a carbon stringer in it, which is what an MX, regular MX is, or a carbon triaxed weave, which is basically it's directional, multiple directions. So when you laminate it onto the shaft,
you're starting to lose me. This stuff is
okay. So the only point is that strength comparable. This uses a carbon fiber weave that's laminated onto the shaft. This uses the same carbon fiber weave. The only difference, smaller diameter, but this is solid wood. Larger diameter, hollow.
Okay, but just so you know, I did study engineering in school. I'm pretty confident the larger diameter wins here.
Not necessarily. What happens? What happens to a composite hollow shaft? When it comes to impact, you take impact, you weaken it, and then what we were just joking about a little bit ago, right? Oh, I was just rolling along the flat water and it broke. Well, you know and I know, it didn't break there.
It broke yesterday.
It broke yesterday when they ran some epic run and smashed into a wall and compromised that shaft. Now, if we actually had a way we could simulate and compromise both shafts identically, this oar is going to take that strike and then tomorrow break in the flat water.
This oar's not.
This oar is going to take that strike
because it has the wooden
tomorrow it's not going to
core
break in the
inside.
flat water.
So here's what I would say. I would say if you take care of these oars and don't take side hits, this is probably a stronger, more durable one. But the fact that you are taking side hits, whether you're loading them in your truck, whether you drop them on a rock, whether whatever you did, or you're just rolling down the river and you hit the shaft on a rock, that causes an imperfection. And this is a serious actual issue with carbon. If you do some damage, then it's likely to break.
Exactly.
And the wood inside basically keeps this carbon weave as more reinforcement than it is structural.
So
durability wise.
The part to think about with the square top is it still is a wood oar, and it just has a lot of carbon fiber on it
to protect it.
That basically strengthens it and protects it. But I mean, both of them, yes, are definitely some of our top line oars.
I mean, they are the best, right? There's nothing better than them for whitewater.
They are definitely the best for rowing. I mean, if you're ready to make that investment in your oar setup for your boat, ideally, because you get a pair of MX-Gs and a pair of square tops, and you run the MX-Gs when you run class 5, when you're more concerned with breaking stuff.
That's my point. Well, first of all, you're just on oars. Like you just have a set of each, right? But my point is, whatever you're going to run in class 5, that makes it the best oar. If I'm going to run whatever oar I'm going to choose to do Cherry Creek on, that's to me the best oar. That's just my thinking.
Right, but see, from a salesman standpoint,
you wanted to buy everything.
Well, no, I don't basically say yes. Every person that we talk to is going to buy 3 sets of oars for themselves. Nobody has just an oar caddy following them down the river, giving it an extra pair every time. But what we tell people is that you need to buy an oar for the water that you run the majority of the time. So if their primary rowing is on the lower Rogue and the lower Deschutes, and they do 20 trips on those 2 rivers throughout the summer, spring and summer, and once they go on the Cal Salmon one weekend, maybe, then I would say you need to buy an oar that is going to give you the most benefit for the lower Rogue and the Deschutes.
And you're claiming that's a square top.
Absolutely.
But if you're saying it's mostly Cal Salmon, 1 road trip a year, you're thinking MX-G.
If it's a guide, more than likely they're a guide buying their own oars that's running on the Cal Salmon, then I send them to an MX-G, because
if you break it, you only break half.
If they break it, they break half. But also they just they're pushing the product to a higher level than the majority of recreational boaters.
Okay. So one thing about the square top though, it does have more flex. Is that right? People tell me they like square tops because they flex more. Or do you think it's as stiff as MX-G?
They have more flex depending on the variety. So this is the carbon layup, and the carbon layup doesn't have that much flex. The X-Weave ones behind you here, those have quite a bit of flex in the shaft. And actually the B-Lam versions have even more flex because their flex actually starts in the blade and then goes all the way through the shaft.
Okay. So we're not going to debate whether flex is good or not. I'm just going to tell you, for Whitewater, flex is bad. But
flex is actually something that you hear fishermen talk about a lot.
Yeah,
drift boaters,
I can see it.
You know, because it's repetition, 7 to 8 hours, back rowing all day long.
And people like to load up a little bit. I can see a drift boat. And also, like, flex is good if you have shoulder injuries or shoulder problems. But if you're just somebody who's kind of burly and wants the best oar for Whitewater, I'm a huge advocate of you want stiff as you can. You don't want to lose energy in the pull and the push.
Right. And I mean, there is a little bit of a progression. Probably a Whitewater guide can transition to a fishing guide if they want to actually continue rowing. Yeah. And that Whitewater guide has already developed shoulder injuries and elbow injuries. And they basically start fishing guiding, and they were sold on MX-Gs, and they're running MX-Gs, but eventually they come to and they're like, I've got shoulder problems, I got elbow problems, what can I do? And I'm like, hey, you know, you should try a pair of square tops and try some lighter swing weight.
Yeah, I can see that. So, I mean, either an MX-G or a square top, we're looking like $300 an oar, right? Pretty expensive.
You're looking at $375 an oar.
And they're both about the same. So price is
right about the same. I mean, if you go with an MX-G and you put an extra duty blade on it,
which is I recommend,
then you know, and then also some people counterbalance, so that's another upgrade. You know, the square top, we didn't even get into that, but the square top is actually perfectly balanced.
Yeah, I mean this thing with the square top, I think people wonder why this exists, and it exists for I'm gonna think for two reasons. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong. One is it does add some natural counterbalancing, which counterbalancing. It's more swing weight. So, I mean, I think it slows you down a little bit when you're accelerating, deaccelerating, but that's one thing. It also just looks cool. I mean, when you run a square top, people see that out there like, damn, you got square tops. Like, you're a baller.
And I would have to disagree a little bit on the
swing weight thing?
Well, no, it is all about swing weight, but a square top by design is not counterbalanced, because counterbalance would indicate that we're adding weight into it.
Because that's a square.
A little bit of mass, okay? Yeah. But it's basically by design, if you put together a very lightweight Dynamite blade, diminished mass in the shaft, which you don't like, but we're trimming out weight here.
Yeah, got it.
But then we're reinforcing it with the carbon fiber. Then some extra mass above the rowing fulcrum, in turn, is a perfectly balanced oar and makes it really
by definition, that extra mass is counterbalancing. I get what you're saying. It's perfectly balanced.
Yeah, but there's not. When people say counterbalance, they think that like we drill this out and stick a chunk of
piece
steel
of lead in there, or like I have friends that have taped rocks on the wood.
Because if you counterbalance an MX-G, you're going to stick weight in the handle.
Yeah, which I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are looking at $350, $400 an oar if you want to go with either. Yep. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. I'm always going to love MX-Gs. I have a soft spot in my heart for them.
Yes, you
But
do.
I've rode these before and I like them. They're cool. They're great oars too. Let's talk about wood really quick while I have you here. I'm a wood guy. I learned on wood oars. Everybody loves what they learned on. If you learn how to row pins and clips, you love pins and clips. If you learn that you always do a thing a certain way, you never want to change. It took me a long time to switch from wood, to give up on wood and go to the MX-Gs. It took me a long time. Because I love the aesthetic of wood. It's just like a thing. Is there a place for wood anymore, other than just it being wood?
Absolutely. There's, the
Where
wood
does
oars
wood fit into this argument?
So the wood oar is the basis of the square top.
Okay.
So every square top, you look at this wall here, every one of these oars, the foundation of them is wood. We have basically incorporated by putting carbon fiber.
Why would I buy this oar over this one?
So the person that buys this oar is wanting a couple different things. So one, this is a smoker Whitewater.
Yeah.
So it's one solid piece of white ash.
Yeah.
So there's no laminations in it. And there are definitely people that like the fact that each oar is just one piece of wood. There's no
okay, so
lamination.
I get that. Is there any functional advantage?
The flex and feel of a wood oar is very hard to replicate. The closest thing you're going to get is our high-end oar. So that flex and feel, people That's what you like. I mean, that's what that flex of that oar is totally different than this MX-G, and that was part of what you probably had to get used to.
No, I actually.
But also,
we use those big. Sorry to interrupt. We use those big clavy oars. They're like that thick.
Right.
So like, I learned on oars that don't bend.
Right.
That's why I mean I learned on things that don't bend. I don't want them to bend.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not used to any flex.
Right. And so the other reason is that people do like the blades. They like the way that they're used to that diameter of the blade.
Yeah.
And then also they're very still very popular with outfitters and people that actually have to use them over and over and over again. And if you take good care of them, you can actually get a lot of life out of them. You can sand them down, revarnish them, but also part of that thing is the taking a hit.
It breaks the whole thing.
You know,
you break it with oar.
But also, you know, they're going to take a lot of abuse. They're going to take nicks and stuff. Where if you just run against a rock and you put a nice little groove in here, you can still row this for the next 6 days on the middle fork.
Next 6 years.
Yeah, and then you go basically put some repair to it. That's going to be a great oar for. You do that to this, any composite.
Yeah.
You know, all of our composites or any of our competitors' composites, once you do that, you've compromised that shaft. And if you don't remove that shaft and turn it into a spare oar, that's a bad idea on your part.
Yeah.
Because you're going to it's going to break eventually.
Yeah.
You just don't know if it's going to break in that next rapid
I mean,
or it's going to
cases,
break.
I've had wood oars do the same.
2 days.
Where we like put a wood oar, somebody did a huge thing with a wood oar on day 1 of a trip. And then day 3, they broke it while running flat. Why didn't I do anything? It's flat water.
Right.
I'm like, no, you broke it on day 1. Remember when you like jammed it in those rocks?
Right.
I think so. What I'm hearing about wood oars is the reason you would want it is because you're just old school. That's basically what you said, and you like the feel. Like I was so attached to wood for a long time. You're old school, or you're an outfitter that just you're worried about the constant dings adding up, and you don't mind lacquering them.
Bit of that, but also I would add to your old school theory is also the fact that, you know, the wood oar gives us a lot of flexibility. And so we actually have kind of these small little niche groups of people that still buy wood oars, and they actually have a profile in their file that we've basically run different flexes. And it's just running different dimensions where it's a little thicker at the butt than it is at the throat.
Yeah.
And in turn, it just like that dimension gives them that flex that they want. And, you know, the example would be like Grand Canyon Dory oarsmen.
Yeah,
you know,
they like it but that's the same thing. It's old school. They like it the way they is. If they never had this and you gave them MX-Gs, they would have loved that too. I think it's old school. But really quickly though, for the average private boater, whitewater paddler, a wood oar is probably not for you, right? Like if you want like the best oar.
Wood oars are, you know, I mean, they're also like not the smokers, but the Sawyer Lights. A lot of times people buy wood oars because they're affordable. You know, Sawyer Light is an affordable option.
But this wood oar costs about the same, I'm guessing, as the MX-G and the.
The smoker whitewater, the smoker whitewater is going to be right in there because it's solid white ash, and solid white ash is getting harder and harder to find.
There are many.
But when we talk about price point, and a person who's looking at maybe a Polecat and getting their first set of oars, they may get a wood oar in a Sawyer Light that basically has a nicer blade. Mm-hmm. It's going to row much nicer than a Polecat Duramax, and they're going to be able to get it into it for a reasonable price. Because they're all wood, a lot of times we have wood oars that have cosmetic blemishes on them. Mm-hmm. Because once you've committed on one piece of wood, it's going to be an oar one way or another. It's either going to be a number 1 or it's going to have some sort of blemish on it. Yeah. And you know, that's maybe where people find their first oar is they buy a pair, they're like, oh, well, I'm going to do more damage to that thing in the first day than what I see sitting right there. So, you know, I mean, they are an alternative to some of the price point stuff as well in the laminated.
The Sawyer Lights.
Sawyer Lights.
Especially seconds is what you're saying.
Sawyer Lights, the oar that we've been making since 1970.
Yeah. I've never run one.
Yeah, you know, we'll have to go out on the water.
Someday I'll upgrade to that. Let's last talk about, this is the Polecat, and this is it just fiberglass?
So that is actually a full fiberglass shaft. It has a triax reinforcement on the blade junction.
Okay.
But it's a complete composite oar shaft, and it's price pointed very competitively.
About approximately.
If you don't get a counterbalance on it,
which you shouldn't,
you get a regular Duramax on it, and you get a rope wrap. It is right in there around $20 to $25 more than if you took a Carlisle and put a rope wrap on it.
About how much is that? $200 an oar? $300 an oar?
About $200 an
Yeah.
oar.
So these are $350, $400. This is about $200, including the blade.
Yes.
And this is
with
the
Duramax blade.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Duramax blade.
And so that's one of the things is that with a composite shaft, you were trying to get that first pair of oars.
Yeah.
You buy the Polecat with the Duramax because that's your best price point.
Yeah.
But then down the road, when you want a little lighter swing weight,
or when you break a couple of these,
a little lighter swing weight,
yeah.
or you shark tooth a lot of those,
yeah.
is you could basically upgrade to a nicer blade.
Shark tooth means what happens is they get cuts in them like this. You hit a rock.
Yeah. You smack into a rock and you chip a chunk.
It still works. You just cut a tooth off of it.
Right.
Sorry, I wanted to.
Right.
That was important.
But the Duramax blade is quite a bit heavier than the VLAM blade. And so you can actually upgrade those oars by just changing out the blade.
Wait, what happened to the Dynalite? Why wouldn't you go Dynalite?
This is just what I grabbed. You could put a Dynalite on
Okay,
it.
all right. I've never used that blade. But what you're saying
it's got lighter swing weight. That's what I'm saying.
I'll probably break that. We'll get into that later. But that's for fishing, isn't it? The VLAM's kind of a fishing blade.
The VLAM is if you want to lighten up your swing weight without adding counterbalance, no matter what you're rowing. So mostly for I would say class 3 and below. Okay. I wouldn't say that's the.
The Dynalite's a little heavier than that.
The Dynalite is a little bit
more durable.
Yes.
Okay. So, but with the Polecat, the thing is, for $200 you get this nice fiberglass oar. It's a great shaft. It's and this blade that works. And then when you want to upgrade or you break this, then you buy a Dynalite or a VLAM, probably a Dynalite. Throw a Dynalite on here. Then at some point when you break the shaft and you have money, then you go up to an MX-G. You can start upgrading pieces instead of the whole thing. And I have friends who.
And eventually, then you buy a pair of square tops.
Yeah, and then killing me. You're killing me with the square tops. So I think we kind of beat this one to death.
I think so.
Yeah, and this is a fun one for me because I had this talk a lot with many of you. People call me about what oar to get or whatever, comments. And so if you have comments below about this, please add them. It's super fun for us to read them. Zach will maybe even read them and comment back.
There you go.
We'd love to hear if you like the MX-G more or the sexy Squaretop more or some other oar you think is really cool. Yeah, actually, we're going to talk about the Bandits.
Sure.
Let's talk about the Bandits really quick, and then we'll go.
Okay.
Hey, so, sorry, we're going to be on pause for a second while Zach grabs the Bandits. This is a new oar that Sawyer's doing. He just showed me that's ultralight, and I just saw it when I walked in and wanted to check it out. And I just noticed it because I love the red.
Yes. So, this is Smoker Bandit. We figured it was time to launch something new under the Smoker brand because the Smoker has primarily just been the solid ash oars.
This is kind of like do you know the new Mustang Mach-E, the new electric Mustang? Ford has a new electric.
Yeah.
This is like the Mustang Mach-E.
No, this is Smokey and the Bandit.
But using the same, yeah, okay.
Okay, so the Smoker Bandit is actually not something that you would put in the same class as the MX-G. Different application. The oar itself, overall weight of the oar is like 4 pounds. And
what's an MX-G weigh?
MX-G is going to be like 7.5, 8 pounds.
So half the weight.
Half the weight. But this is actually a complete carbon fiber shaft.
100%.
100% carbon fiber shaft. So there isn't a foundational layer of fiberglass.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's much thinner walled. It's made to be lightweight. Super lightweight, super light swing weight because the whole thing is light.
Yeah.
The blades are designed just to go with these shafts. That's why they actually have a 3-inch on center tight set so that they cannot be used with anything else.
You can't put anything else.
You cannot put anything else.
No Duramax on that.
No Duramax on here. But the whole idea with the Bandit is it works because of all the pieces put together. So the blade is made extremely lightweight. It's actually a 24-inch blade rather than a 30-inch blade. So we took the concept of what we do in a shoal cut, and the shoal cut typically has a chunk of shaft to make it 30 inches. Mm-hmm. but we make this blade just 24. So in turn, we're taking out the mass there. Then you got the carbon fiber shaft, and then it does have an ash handle. It's a solid ash handle, but we reverse cord the ash handle, so the ash handle is hollow. So we actually
reverse core means you cut out the inside.
bored out the inside of the handle so that there's air in the handle, not weight in the handle.
Don't you want the counterbalancing though?
Negative. The whole thing is so light.
It doesn't matter.
You would never counterbalance a Bandit.
Okay.
Because it's so light.
And who's this for? Is this a fishing thing? Is this just like?
So it's primarily the super lightweight concept. Typically does go to anglers. I would say once again, if you're running class 3 and below, would be fine. I would not recommend it to somebody who's running class 4 and 5. It's not that kind of oar.
This is the oar you buy though if you're incredibly wealthy and running class 5. You just because they look really awesome.
They're actually quite stiff.
If you keep buying them,
and but at the same time they're not as thick a wall as an MX-G. So that whole dinging aspect, they're not going to take as much impact. But we do have anglers that unfortunately need to keep track of their gear and secure it when they're parked outside of the local tackle shop or whatever. So the Bandit is an alternative to where they've been sold on square tops. They love them. They've had a couple pair, but they don't like the fact they have to leave these out in their boat and they can't secure them. So they do like the fact they can take their blade off their Bandit and stick it in the back of their canopy and lock it up for security sense.
Because their bed is too long for a full oar. If you take it off, it'll fit in the bed. Oh, that's something I never would have thought of.
And then also, we do actually make the Bandits.
Wait, hold on. Sorry to interrupt. That's another advantage of my trusty MX-G is for security. You can pull off the blade. Sorry.
But there are locking straps that will solve that issue.
So, but also you said this comes in a 2-piece.
And then it comes in a 2-piece as well. So a person can actually get a pair of Bandits and a Bandit 2-piece. So now they have a spare that matches exactly to their operational oars. And it's the same thing with someone buys a pair of square tops and then they're going to buy a Polecat 2-piece. No, it's like the example we give them is you're on the middle fork and you break an oar on day 1. Are you going to row with?
Everybody. I see a lot of people that have 2 nice oars and then a Polecat spare. I'm a huge fan. Just get them all.
Spares and pairs.
Yeah,
you got to use spares and pairs. So if you're going to have 2 nice oars, and you need to have 2 comparable oars that are going to be that you're going to run those together if something happens to the nice ones. But cool. So basically the Bandit is is an oar that we kind of waited to release it. That there were pressures from some of our competitors that are making fly rods and stuff like that. So we've had the technology to make the shaft a long time. The whole key to a Bandit is in the blade and the handle. Making those parts to work with the lightweight shaft. And so we finally put it together, and it's just going into its 2nd season. And yes, mostly anglers have loved them.
And if you don't know, it's a Bandit. It says it on the sticker. You won't miss that anywhere.
That's right.
So, well, cool. Thanks, Zach, for joining me for this episode. And again, if you have comments, please add them. And see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
I didn't realize we were gonna I thought you were on my side on this, but maybe you're not.
I'm all good. It's all right.
I mean, you're a tough one because you're both a whitewater guy and a fishing guy. So I can't just pigeonhole you as a fishing guy. That's what makes this
just a stupid drift boater.
I can't just be like, you have no idea.
Wear his life jacket half the time.
You know what I'm talking about. You have a beer holder in front of you, and you just, I can't do it. You got that whitewater background. You're legit. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.